All right. Hey, welcome, sports fans. This is an inside sports production of Dodger Dogs. We talk about Major League Baseball with a focus on the National League and our hometown, for us anyways. We're out here on the South Coast, and this is my show. We're in Southern California. I'm Charles E. Smith, Jr., and, I cannot do Dodger Dogs alone. I cannot. I have to always, and the standards that I have here on Inside Sports, I only hang with the best. I only roll with the best. That's just how I do things. So I cannot do Dodger Dogs by myself. I got to bring in my main man, a big-time Dodger fan. You know him in the sports world. A lot of you go to his website at mikedupradio.com. You follow him on Twitter at mikedupradio.com. None other than the pride of the Southland, Mike Gabriel. Homeboy, talk to me.
I feel like I'm going to go up in that bat with the bases loaded and 2 outs in the World Series right now. I just need some coming up to the base, to the plate music there, Charles. That's all I need. That's all you're missing.
Well, you know what? Hey, it's going to be fun to do this show because we've been talking the last couple of weeks where really it was about, kind of talking the Dodger fans off the ledge. And then we talked last week about maybe Victorino was going to be that missing piece, as the Flying Hawaiian comes into town at the trade deadline. And, well, Ace, you talk to me, man. It looks like things might be turning around for this Dodger squad now.
So far, so good. They're 5 of 6 on the road trip. They've won the first 3 games in Pittsburgh. They took 2 of 3 in Miami, and they should have taken all 3. Joe Blanton gets lit up in the 5th and 6th inning there. And, look, once they got Hanley Ramirez, your 3, 4, 5 hitters were set with Ethier, Kemp, and Hanley. And then you get a guy who's finally a legit leadoff hitter, one that the Dodgers haven't had for a while. And, you put Juan Pierre, Rafael Furcal in that category maybe. Pierre was okay when he was out here for call, thinking more like he was a power hitter type guy. I mean, the last real leadoff type guy was maybe Brett Butler back in the day, back in the 90s.
Right.
And Shane Victorino now gives that to you. He hands that to you. When you get guys on in front of those 3 guys that I mentioned, when you're solid in your middle of the order, in your 3, 4, 5, you got to get on base for these guys to bring you in. Last show we talked about that. Nobody was getting on last week.
Yeah.
Victorino wasn't getting on. He's having a hard time. Ellis wasn't getting on. And the 3 guys weren't getting big hits when they finally decided to get on. And not even that, those guys couldn't even get on either. So it's a big difference. And, it's funny in the sports world, it happens all the time. How big of a difference a week makes. It's absolutely phenomenal. Last week, I was about to hang myself, and 7 days later, look at us now. I mean, the Dodgers are now 1 game up on the National League Western Division. They're finally in first place, first time since June 26th. And, they're scoring all kinds of runs. And, it's a different team all of a sudden. And it's nice to see a lot of that is, like you said, credit Shane Victorino. He's playing tremendously hot. He's on all cylinders right now. And I expect him to be that way to the end of the season.
Right. And, the other thing is we talked about, possibly that Matt Kemp was not, even though he thinks he has the drive, but maybe he's not the clubhouse leader that he really needs to be. But if you get someone like Victorino who is that leader, you got the guys like Matt Kemp who maybe they're better as being a second in command. But being that ultimate leader is one thing, but a lot of guys are more comfortable in that second in command type of a role. So not everyone can be a general, but it looks like Victorino, and this is just the attitude going through the clubhouse. This might be what solidified it because we talked about this road trip and we talked about the things coming up against the Marlins, the Pirates, the Braves, and Frisco. It was time. It was make or break time for the Dodgers. This is it. Any more sloppy baseball, another week of sloppy baseball, and they might have been, for all intents and purposes, out of the chase, though not mathematically. But you know what I'm talking about.
Huge stretch, humongous stretch, and it's. A team like Miami, you got to take advantage of. A team like Pittsburgh, who's playing so great, you really don't know what to expect when you get up there. Dodgers have won 3 games handily. I mean, in the last 6 games, the Dodgers have been averaging 11 hits on the road. It's a team where you just want, just stay on the road. Don't even come back home. Stay there. The last 6 games, they've hit 50. They've got 15 hits, 13 hits, 9 hits, 12 hits, 11 hits, 11 hits. So, this is a team that's right now firing on all cylinders. They got 45 games left. if there's not a time to be playing better baseball right now, their best baseball, it's right now. There's no doubt about it. A huge stretch, like you mentioned. They got 1 in Pittsburgh left tomorrow. They got 3 in Atlanta, where they do not play well in Atlanta. And Atlanta team that's very, very good talent-wise. Worst case scenario for the Dodgers, they come home 5-5, a 500 trip, a trip that they don't want now in a position where they're 5-1. They don't want to come home 5-5. They're looking for 7 or 8 wins in this trip now. So, look, they're playing well, and the leadership that you talked about, Shane Victorino, is a great point. I mentioned about the story that he did, or what he did in the locker room last week. Loney comes in, a couple hours before first pitch, and Victorino was in there 3 hours before first pitch. He looks at his wrist, points to his watch, and says, "You guys better start coming here earlier. We're going to have an issue." And that's the leadership that Shane brings to this team. And you're right. I don't see Matt Kemp being that guy at all. I think Matt Kemp is a very, very LA type, laid-back type guy who isn't a leader type guy, a guy who just puts it out in the field and says, "All right, you guys want to come, come. If you don't, whatever. It's not a big deal." So Victorino definitely brings that. You're right. And without him, I'm not sure there's another leader on this club. But Kemp can play that role, that second-tier type role, and you make a good point.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I said. It's about getting guys to be, comfortable with who they are. And it's not about the effort on the field. It's just about really being that leader. And I think now what you may see is with Kemp, with Victorino on the team, there's not even a question of Kemp having to fill that role anymore. Now, you may see Kemp let's look over the next week or two, you may see his production really start going up, because he's going to be able to get comfortable just being Matt Kemp, the great baseball player, not necessarily Matt Kemp, the man who would be leader or anything like that. He's going to be able to just settle down and play baseball, and that's what a lot of guys just like to do. They're very talented, they're very good, but what they want to do ultimately when they get to the park, they just want to play ball. They don't want to deal with anything else. And, if Kemp is that kind of guy, that's fine. Put him in that type of a role, and, he'll be good and productive for you.
So true. It's so true. And that's what he is. That's the type of player he is. He just wants to let him play baseball and win games.
Right.
He doesn't want to come up to you in the locker room afterwards and tell you, what you did wrong, or get in front of guys in the face or throw furniture around. You're right. He's not that guy. He truly isn't. And a couple more stats that is just crazy, and it tells you how good of a pitching staff the Dodgers have and how good pitching in general this team has. The Dodgers are 45-3 when they score 5 or more runs in a game. They now have 65 wins on the year. When they and in those 65 games that they've won, they average 5.5 runs. I mean, that's a stat that it just blows you away, because when a team scores, 5 runs or more, there's teams that have to score 6 or 7 or 8 runs to win games. I mean, they've won 40. They're 45-3 when they score 5 or more runs. That's a staggering stat, and that's how good this pitching staff has been. Now, if this team can average 4 to 5 runs a game, look out. I mean, this is a team that's playing well right now. And if the offense continues to play this way, and I don't expect them to play this well offensively, but if you can get 4 to 5 runs a game, you've got a very good chance to win games every night. And that's the goal for every team. And this Dodger team is set up that way.
It sounds like, and we talk about what a difference a week makes. You're sounding awfully optimistic there. And as we were talking in our pregame or pre-show, however you want to call that, we mentioned we're down to about 45 games or so left to go in the season. It's time to maybe start looking at, obviously postseason play, where they're going to finish. But you just talked about a formula there: good pitching, great hitting, a formula that normally leads to some pretty great moments. Even though you're not ready to go ahead and think they're going to return to the glory days just yet, when you look at the roster, look at the team, and just look at the production they're getting out of everybody, you must be quite optimistic.
I never speak too soon when I talk about my sports teams or sports in general. You just can't, because so much has happened, and we've all experienced it as sports fans, how things can change drastically. You look at San Francisco now with Melky Cabrera being suspended for 50 games for using, enhancers.
Right.
Look, I got a story of my brother-in-law who every year around June time, the Dodgers would always play well before the All-Star break. Every year, they were 4 or 5 games up in the division. And we leave a game and they win, and he looks at me and says, "Hey, Mike, we going to get playoff tickets this year?" And, I wanted to leave him at the game or at the stadium every time he mentioned that. And every year he mentioned that, they never made the playoffs. So I always think of those stories when people try to get too premature on things. And I don't want to talk about the pennant. I don't want to talk about the playoffs. I just want to take it, day by day, game by game, and make sure you're successful every game, or try to be as competitive as you possibly can. So yeah, I'm not going there, Charles E. Smith Jr. There's no chance that's happening.
All right, perfect. Well, you know what? Let's talk a little bit about Melky Cabrera. They're one of the spark plugs for the Giants, and here I put up some little photos of Melky batting. There he is, airborne with Hunter Pence, but that's definitely going to strike a big blow to the Giants, and that's the chief rival. So it looks like, I know we're not talking about playoffs because we wouldn't do that. We don't want to do anything premature because you do anything premature, it can be really embarrassing. So we look at this, though. It just seems like the perfect storm here. A spark plug taken away from your chief rival, and here you are, your team starting to gel at just the right time.
Charles, this is a team who struggles to score runs with Melky Cabrera in the lineup. You lose Melky now for the rest of the season. The only time he can come back now is the 6th game in the postseason, which is probably unlikely now. This guy now creates a humongous void for the Giants. This guy was, he was most probably going to be named the MVP of the National League, let alone of Major League Baseball. Now you lose him in that lineup. This is a disaster for the Giants, an absolute disaster. This guy was one bat away from being eligible to win the batting title, and now he creates this humongous void in San Francisco. Like I said, a team that struggles. They struggle so hard to score runs, and now you lose him. And forget about that. What this has done to his livelihood, even. He was having a monster year, batting .340, 20 home runs, 60, 70 RBIs.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to become a free agent at the end of the year. Now, this could possibly, he can now lose, anywhere from $50 to $100 million contract that's guaranteed. So, he's taking a huge risk when he's putting those, enhancements into his body. Now, teams are going to be, skeptical to sign this guy to a long-term deal, let alone a multi-year deal. Saying that, like I said, he is now away. He has no chance now. He was set up to sign a $70, $80 million deal. And now he's got no chance. Teams don't want to sign into that deal anymore after this. There's no way.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's one of those almost a don't do the crime if you can't do the time type of things. He knows the risks involved. You know the risks involved before you do it, but you're willing to do that for that shot at glory. And, this is the other side of the coin. So, hey, I don't know.
The other thing is that, does it link back to the Yankees? I mean, you get Giambi, you get A-Rod, now you get Melky Cabrera, it's all 3 guys that play for the Yankees. I mean, do these guys, like, instead of tickets, scalping tickets, do they scalp enhancements outside the stadium? I mean, really, what it's crazy. There's been a lot of players linked. Roger Clemens is another guy who's been linked to the Yankees. I don't know what's happening there. And, it could be a Yankee thing. It could be not. It could be, just out of coincidence. But, look, there's another guy. I wonder how far he was sitting from Barry Bonds' locker room in San Francisco, too. He's figuring, shoot, why not? This is it's a big risk that you take. And he admitted that he did it, which is actually pretty cool. And he says it's my fault, it's my bad. I got to just move on. But that's a big risk, man. And what you did to that team, those fans and the franchise. By the way, I love it. It's awesome. It's so good, man. This is humongous for the division. The Dodgers, a lot easier right now to win this division for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you know what? And hey, their loss is a Dodgers gain, so that's just the way that goes. And when you look at the whole steroid thing, though, I think you can. I wouldn't necessarily link it back to the Yankees, but you look at the lineage though of players, and when you look at Canseco, who was really the modern steroid user, and all the guys who played with him, and you can just draw, if you did a flow chart, you could see the guys who played with Canseco, then they went somewhere else, and see how the tree just grew. But it started with a core of 5 or 6 or 8 guys who played with Canseco, and that's when they really kind of started using. And you still have, that lineage going on to this day. So, and I'm not trying to blame Canseco for anything, but I think it's kind of cool with Canseco is that baseball, instead of dealing with the problem that he said was there, they tried to completely discredit Canseco. They tried to throw him under the bus, defamation of character, tried to say he was crazy. And every single thing that he ever said about anyone using came to fruition. It comes out it was true.
It was, and
Yeah.
Major League Baseball knew that as well. They just didn't want to tarnish the league. A commissioner of any sport is going to tell Canseco to go fly a kite. I mean, why would they listen to him? Because they would, absolutely tarnish their league.
Well, why not deal with it internally?
This stuff is going on.
The thing is, I don't get is why didn't they deal with it internally somehow instead of just trying to say, well, let's get the public to not listen to anything Canseco says. That was my issue with it.
Charles, Canseco basically filed for bankruptcy, and he lost a ton of money after his baseball career. I have a friend actually who's very good friends with Jose, and he said that he talked to him before he brought the book out. He talked to him before he went to Major League Baseball, and Canseco basically told him, "Look, I don't have any money, and my only source of income right now is I'm too old to play the game. I can't play the game anymore. I need to write this book to bring in some sort of income. I have nothing going on for me." And he told him that, look, you might get a coaching gig somewhere. You might be in baseball somewhere. You're going to tarnish your career. You shouldn't be doing this. This isn't something that you should be doing. And Jose told him, I have no choice. I have no choice. I have to do it. And that was the reason why he came out in public and wrote his book. And by the way, the book didn't make much money.
No, it didn't.
I think he just filed for bankruptcy again a couple months ago. So the guy's an absolute mess. Yeah. By the way, talk about a mess and a train wreck and train wrecks you have to look at, right? You kind of cover your eyes and look at. That's his Twitter account. The guy is an absolute mess. You're on Twitter, everybody out there. You got to follow Jose Canseco. The guy's a wreck. There was a tweet he put out a couple months ago about his landlord wouldn't let him back into his house. So of course, what does he do? He puts his landlord's phone number as a tweet. And, this poor landlord's getting phone calls from all these people complaining why Jose can't go back into his apartment. So, God bless Jose Canseco.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you know what? I think ultimately, though, when we look at Canseco, what he did, now, true, it may have been, like you say, that shed some light on it where it was more of a self-serving thing. However, I would have to say that baseball is somewhat, I'd have to say better off because of Canseco. When it brought everything to light, otherwise we might still be stuck in that steroid era for who knows how long.
It could, yeah, but a lot of casual fans really like the home runs.
Right.
They like exciting
They still
baseball.
do.
They don't want to go to games and 1-0, 2-0. So, part of that is, and it's not like attendance has gone down. Every year, attendance increases every year in Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So. It's not like because now everybody, there aren't as many home runs as there were back in McGuire and Sammy Sosa days. People aren't showing up to the ballpark. They are. They're still going. So, I don't know. I mean, people enjoyed that. I knew a lot of fans who said, I don't really care if they're on steroids. I want to go to a game and watch a 9-7 game with 5-6 home runs hit. That's exciting to me. So you're a baseball purist, obviously, like myself.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of that. I want to see real, true baseball. Guys who aren't, taking any substances, and playing like they should be, like everybody else that's the even playing field. But it's still going on. I think 20, 25, 30% of players right now are still on it. I think in the minor league level, there's more of those kids that are on it only because there's more of there's less of a chance of them getting to the major league level. The only chance of them getting there is to put up big numbers. So they're taking the risk of, getting caught. At the same time, they're getting paid $20,000, $25,000 a year. And okay, I'm gonna get caught, and what's gonna happen in my life? I don't really care. These long bus rides I'm not real fond of, and my salary I'm not real fond of. Might as well put up big numbers. Let me get called up to the major leagues and sign a big contract somewhere. So
Right.
it's still happening. It's still happening, but a big time. It's a smaller scale. There's no doubt about it.
Well, and that's one thing is that what all of us have to realize is that when you look at getting called up or getting that one contract, if you sign one good contract, seriously, if you have some sense about finances and don't spend all your money having a posse follow you around or making it rain in strip clubs or any of the other nonsense, you sign one contract that's worth, $5, $6, $7 million, and you're good. That's more than, what 90% of the country will make in their whole lifetime. So, I could see where you'd be tempted if you were one of those AAA players who was that close, just that close to maybe being able to go to the show. It would be a temptation. I could understand that, definitely.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. And unfortunately, a lot of those guys who've made $4 or $5 million in their careers, you and I, you would think we'd hold it somewhere and invest in some things and make sure we hold on to our money. A lot of these guys, man, that money to them, it's gone in a couple of years. I mean, you take Antoine Walker and so many others in any respective sport. Antoine Walker made over $100 million in his career, and he filed for bankruptcy, 3-4 months ago. So, these guys, it's tough. I was talking about my friend about the same thing, and it's, who do I blame? These poor guys, I mean, I feel for them because their upbringing wasn't very good. They, half of them don't know who their fathers are, unfortunately, and they are born or raised with a bad background, and a lot of them, their entourage takes advantage of them. So when they're there, they got to bring 12 of their guys, and 12 of their guys need cars, and their parents need cars and houses. So they feel like they got to take care of everybody, and it's people who never had it before, so they don't know how to manage it properly. So it's tough, man. But who do I blame? I blame the agents. I blame their managers, because what I would do to a guy if I was taking care of and I was getting 15% of his money, I would make sure that you plan him into an investment manager, a guy who's going to make sure to grab $5 million of his money yearly and put that away into something that he can't touch. He can't go buy a Rolls Royce, every month, and a lot of these guys do, and a lot of them don't, and unfortunately they find out the hard way.
Well, I think what happens though with a lot of these guys, and they talk about it, that guys who play sports and especially play at the high levels, a lot of them are risk takers. So there are guys who actually carefully planned their retirement from the financial standpoint and then get involved in something really high risk later on. And that's like Curt Schilling. Yeah. Look at Curt Schilling. He basically, what he made, saves up $35-40 million over the course of his playing career, and then goes and blows it all, trying to start a video game company.
Yeah.
Loses it all in 1 year.
Right. I know.
So,
it's true. It's crazy. I mean, it is. That's tough.
It's like, the adrenaline
you know
rush.
What that is? I guess, I don't know, or it's poor investment, or it's guys around you who just don't know how to invest, or they don't have a background in that, or, he thinks it's going to blow up, but I'm not sure how you can put an initial investment together. That's a substantial amount of money to put together to figure that how fast you're going to get that money back. Who knows? I mean, obviously he thought it was going to be a couple of years, but it was a couple of days till he probably found out. That reminds me of people in Vegas where they go and they gamble and they win a couple $1,000, and what do? I'm putting the whole thing on black, right? They go to roulette and here comes red. It's poor managing. It's poor managing. But,
well, what?
I'll
say this.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of guys, and that's the problem when it comes to money, is you have to have a point where you think, okay, wait, I won. I'm done. So if I've got $50 million in the bank that I made from playing ball, I don't need to invest in anything because people invest so they can get to where I am already. And it almost reminds me of there's an episode of The Simpsons where Homer was, he won a court settlement and he was awarded $1 million. And he goes, whoopee, can I have it all in lottery tickets? It's one of those type of situations. At a certain point, you got to realize you won. It's over.
Exactly.
And just go enjoy your life.
You know, and people say, yeah, but you're playing with their money. Go play with their money. No. That's my money. I won that money. That's my money. They've taken my money before. Now that's my money, right, that I got back from them. So I'm not playing with house money. You know, when I win, that's my money, and I'm going to take it, I'm going to put it in my pocket, and I'm going to go away. But, you know, this sounds like an economic class now that we've turned into. This is supposed to be a Dodger show that these poor people got to listen to the two professors over here talking you how to manage your freaking money, man.
Yeah, it's two guys with less than six-figure incomes talking about how to manage millions. Hey, but it makes sense, man, you know?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Right. More like four-figure incomes.
Okay, let's go ahead to it. Let's get on. We're winding down here. And, of course, we're in Southern California. The show is Dodger Dogs, but we talk about a little bit about all sports every now and then. So, you know what? It finally happened, and it happened the day after our last show. Dwight Howard. It finally happens. He's coming here. He's going to be a Laker. Every Laker big man who has ever come here has gotten at least one championship. Wilt Chamberlain being the only guy who got one. The others got multiple championships, of course. We talk about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. We talk about Shaq. And now it's Dwight Howard. We got Steve Nash here already. They picked up Antoine Jameson. It should be interesting when this Laker season starts.
And no doubt, even Jody Meeks, they got the little shooting guard from Philadelphia, 6'4". I mean, the kid's really good. An underrated defender, can shoot the outside jumper. Then you re-sign Jordan Hill. The team is really stacked now. They finally have a bench that you can depend on. Not guys like Josh McRoberts and Troy Murphy and on and on. But look, Dwight Howard is finally a Laker. The saga is finally over. Unfortunately, we can't have that segment anymore. But, the only part that scares me a little bit is that Dwight Howard had a very serious back surgery, herniated disc that they worked on. That's not a joke. I mean, that's a serious injury. And the doctors, the reports, and all the records that the Lakers have looked at, they're very confident that he can be playing, 2-3 weeks into the season. He's probably going to miss the opening night and probably 2 or 3 weeks after that. But, look, that's the only thing that really, really scares me is that to make sure that he can get back to at least 95% of his health, because I think he turns into a different player. I mean, you're herniated disc. You can't jump. He relies on his length, his strength, and, he's a big defender. He averages 2.5 blocks a game. So,
right.
If you can't defend, if you can't block shots, he's a different player. And, that's the only part that freaks me out. Steve Nash, on the other end, is obviously a humongous acquisition. A guy who's going to make everybody better, everybody, and that includes the coaching staff. When you're a coach and you've got a guy like Steve Nash as your quarterback and as high as an IQ as he has, the highest probably in the game next to Chris Paul, and a guy who is probably the best shooting point guard in the league, my goodness, give him the ball and let him go. He can run any offense. He's so bright. He's so agile. He's so good. And what I'm looking forward to most is the Gasol-Steve Nash connection there. Those two are going to love each other. They are going to run so many nice little pick and rolls, and it's going to be fun basketball. I just can't wait until the team is 100% healthy. Dwight Howard is healthy. He's going to be on the floor and play. But no doubt, it's going to be a very, very exciting year for the Lakers and Laker fans. And, we're all looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. And you just talk about it, Steve Nash, Pau Gasol, Dwight Howard, Antoine Jameson. It goes on. But you know what? The show can't go on because we're out of time, homeboy.
Uh-oh.
All right. Well,
before we cut things loose, I want to give props to Chad Billingsley for the last week or the last few weeks of pitching. It's fear of the beard time for Chad Billingsley. He grew out that beard, and now he's 5-0 since he's had the beard with an ERA of like 1.6. I mean, the guy has been absolutely stupid on the mound. He pitched an 8-inning shutout baseball against Pittsburgh last night. The guy has been absolutely stellar. He should never shave that beard ever, and I don't think he ever will. So he looks like his old self. That's a huge, huge upgrade, a huge type pickup to the team. It's like you're acquiring another pitcher on that staff. So that's huge, man. That's very large.
All right, and we'll have to see if he ever does a Subway commercial with Brian Wilson also.
I doubt it. You got a horrible personality. It's never going to work.
All right, man. Hey, you know what? It has been fantastic. Thanks for joining me again, Mike, and we'll do this thing again next Wednesday for all the Dodger fans out there.
Charles, I'm going to cut you off one more time. Did you watch Hard Knocks by chance on HBO?
I do. I didn't see the one where Chad Johnson got fired yet, though.
Oh man, this show. Look, man, I talked to you about. I hate to keep going on the show, but I got to talk about it. We talked about the franchise with the Miami Marlins a couple weeks ago. This reality show is real. It's real reality. I mean, this is real stuff. They don't hide anything. Nothing is scripted. It's the same way with Hard Knocks. Joe Philbin is awesome. The new head coach for the Miami Dolphins. I love this guy a lot. And you talk about a coach who needs to be a leader. That's exactly what he is. High in integrity, just a good guy. You can just tell he's sincere, he's good. But you got to watch it, Charles.
I'll see it. I've got them all DVR'd.
Yeah.
I've got them DVR'd.
Okay, perfect. You got to watch it.
And I'll be in Arizona at the end of September and watch the Dolphins play the Cardinals, by the way, in that magnificent University of Phoenix Stadium out there in Glendale.
Hey, that's right. You're a Dolphins fan.
Yes. Yes, I am.
Oh, man. That's right. Oh, man, that's right. Okay, you can close the show now.
All right. Perfect. Okay, everybody. So, as we said, we're closing the show. I'm Charles E. Smith, Jr. That was Mike Gabriel. Thanks for joining us for Dodger Dogs. This is an Inside Sports production. Here at Inside Sports, we are changing the world one sport at a time. Tonight, the sport was baseball. Well, then it was basketball a little bit, and it was about steroids. But, hey, you know how we roll. We'll see you all next week, and thanks for joining us.